We characterize the network. What are the actual tools you can use to do that? I talked about assessment, audit. Well, existing documentation would be topologies and diagrams. I like that. I really like that when it says topologies and diagrams. Some smaller companies don't actually have network engineers. They probably have a very good IT staff, and please don't be too hard on the IT staff. I mean, those guys do superb job. They have to support the help desk. They have to install Windows on machines. They have to take care of the AD. They have to deploy the new hardware. Sometimes they even have to learn how to set new rules on these firewall appliances, and on top of that, they need to be reachable 24/7. So they might not just be network engineers, and they might not come with a topology. They might draw you a diagram. So if you do an assessment and you compare the diagram, what I really like personally to do is when I create my topology, I try to lay out the logical topology to go in line with the diagram. For example, they like to put the data center on the left and the WAN on the right. Well, I'll try to reproduce that. I mean, it has to be meaningful to your customer. Management tools on site. Well, SNMP collectors are very good, and like I said, nowadays you can collect so much information through SNMP. That said, they might not have an SNMP collectors. You might have to come with your own collector. You might even have to configure in SNMP on those devices. Network audit softwares. Well, NetFlow and bar. NetFlow is very good, and compared to SNMP collectors, which only gives you I would say a look in the past. I mean, the NetFlow can give you everything that's in cache of the flow, and you're not actually looking at the traffic. Let's say you want to do the same thing, you would have to actually span a port, collect the actual flow through your machine. So if it's a 200 meg conversations, you would have to actually pull that all together, and then through Wireshark dissect all the protocols, and then create a chart to see which protocols consume more of the bandwidth or less. With NetFlow, it's much easier because the hardware identify itself each flows and report utilizations or a port or a destination and the source even. NBAR, it's applied to Cisco hardware. It's a network-based application recognition. So through NBAR, you can identify applications on the network itself. More tools. Well, you still have the manual audit where you could actually just log into the hardware. Like I said, let's say they don't have an SNMP collector. They're not planning on configuring SNMP. They simply don't agree with it. They want to stay away from it. So probably a smaller shop. Well, through the show command, you can pull a lot of information. You can also copy your run config to a TFTP server, FTP, SCP server, whatever. You could even copy and paste the actual run configuration, running configuration if it's not too large, and then you can pull a lot of information for this. Any scripting tools, there's a lot of scripting tools, especially if you go on INE's website. There's this nice section on Linux where you learn how to create scripts to look for information within a file. And then your auditing tools, your regular auditing tools, your SNMP, NetFlow, and NBAR. There is also Cisco Prime. Cisco Prime, if you look in Wikipedia, it's previously known as Cisco Works. is a network management software suite consisting of different software applications by Cisco system. Most applications are geared toward either enterprise or service provider networks. Cisco Prime, you will not see this in a small shop. You might see this in a large enterprise. It's what Cisco calls a single pane of glass tool, where under the same interface you can pull multiple applications that will give you different visibility of your network. It's offered as a traditional package or as a VMware image. You might not go and deploy a Cisco Prime. You might just walk into a large environment where they have this, the Cisco Prime installed. If so, you will be able to pull all your audit and assessment information from it. NetFlow. Well, the NetFlow, it's a feature. Well, it is a feature that was introduced on Cisco routers originally. Now, there's some other vendors that are also using NetFlow. And keep in mind, there are different versions of NetFlow. The newer version offer even more informations. But I don't think every vendors use the latest version. So it provides the ability to collect IP network traffic as it enters or exits an interface. By analyzing the data provided by NetFlow, a network administrator can determine things such as the source and destination of traffic and the class of service and the cause of congestion. See, I've underlined it, so I don't know if someone asks you what is NetFlow, what can NetFlow provide you? Well, it can provide you the source and destination of the traffic and the class of service. An NBAR. Well, NBAR is the mechanism used by Cisco routers and switches to recognize a data flow. See, if we go back to the NetFlow, it is to identify the source and destination of traffic and the class of service. Then that can help you find the cause of congestion, where NBAR is to recognize a data flow. So as you can see, these two can be used in conjunction. By inspecting some packets sent, the networking equipment which use NBAR does a deep packet inspection on some of the packets in the data flow to determine which traffic category the flow belongs to. So is this a web page, or are we pulling file for a BitTorrent application? Well, an NBAR can identify it, and NBAR relies on profiles which you normally upload to your router or switch or equipment, and it's mainly used for quality of service and for security also. NBAR in conjunction with NetFlow nowadays are used by very powerful ASA solutions to actually secure your network.